wasn't long after that myself and my mother arrived at the party as scheduled. There were, of course, all the to-do faces of high-class businessmen in attendance, their families and friends, the wait staff of the estate, a very lovely party, and all the people were in attendance. I, however, had no interest in them. After leaving the carriage, I began to make my way through the party, a much more specific agenda in mind. It wasn't long before I made my way to the children's section, and there I saw her waiting. Alice, wearing a very fine black dress to match my tux for the night. A very sleek and elegant look that fit Alice quite nicely. "Hello, Alice," I said as I approached. "You look wonderful tonight." "Oh, thank you, Reginald," Alice replied. "Well, this is our first night out together, so I thought I would look nice for the occasion. You told me you'd be wearing black, so of course I dressed to match. I had my mother have a custom gown made just for me." "Do you like it?" Alice said, taking a small pirouette and spinning around in her pretty new dress. "Yes, Alice, it looks fantastic," I replied. Say, Alice, could I talk to you for a few moments? Alone, away from the party," I said. Alice had a somewhat puzzled expression on her face, but she had no problem with it, following me outside of the main party, to a quiet, separate location, to the west side of the estate. There was an stately fountain of high quality. Alice took a seat on the fountain, and I sat beside her. "Wow, it's such a clear night. There are no clouds at all. You can see all the stars," Alice said, staring up at the night sky. "Alice," I said, looking down at my feet, my hands clasped together, focused on what I had to talk about. "I've recently discovered something, Alice." Alice looked over it, waiting to find out what it was that I was trying to discuss. Still lackadaisical, as she usually is, with a smile on her face, joyfully kicking her feet, just waiting to hear the story. "Alice, I've recently found out of a plan of sorts. I suppose you would call it more of a plot of murder." Suddenly Alice got a smile on her face. Who is it, Reginald? Tell me all about it. I have to know. Who's gonna get it?" "I hope it's that uppity Mrs. Poppengard. I really hate her dog," Alice said. "No, Alice," I replied. "This particular murder plot is my own. The one that they intend to kill is me, along with my mother." I sat there for a moment in silence, wondering how Alice would respond. "They wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare," Alice responded, angrily, furiously. "Who are they, Reginald? Tell me right now, Reginald," Alice shouted. "They wouldn't dare touch you. I won't let them. I'll kill them for the thought. No one is going to take you away, Reginald. I won't allow it." Alice's expression grew furious. She stood to her feet, clenching her fists, a mad expression on her face as she bared her teeth. "It's not going to happen," Alice announced aloud, as a small wind began to pick up around her, a shimmering purple aura beginning to ooze from her form like smoke. Purple, colorful wisps of pure energy float from her form. "They'll die. I'll pull the skin from their bones. Reginald P. Worthington is mine and mine alone. No one will take away my destiny." The feeling from Alice in that moment was terrifying. Perfect. That's exactly what I need. "There's really nothing to worry about, Alice. Don't get so worked up," I replied. "I have no intentions of dying an early death. They want to kill me, but it's not going to happen. Tell me who it is, Reginald. Tell me you dare. I'll kill them," Alice says. At this point, you could even see a purple glow in her eyes. I stood up, looking Alice directly in the eyes. The person who's created this plot of murder for me is none other than my own father. He's decided to do away with me and my mother for his own ease. But I have a plan. I've already begun to collect the pieces, you might say, and arrange things, put everything in order. And of course, I wanted to ask you if you would help me. "Of course," Alice responded rapidly. There's no chance in the world I wouldn't take part. Whatever plans you have for them, I'm in. Just tell me what you want, Alice said, growing a wicked grin on her face. And just like that, another piece falls into place. Everything is going to work out my way. It has been a week since the man in the pinstripe suit gave me a visit. Tonight is the night of my father's return. Currently, I'm in the family carriage on the way to the party my father oh so graciously invited my mother and myself to. I've spent the last week setting all the pieces in motion, all the cogs to the great machine, everything ready to do its job. The plan is in motion, everything is set. Tonight is the night. Suddenly, there's loud noise outside of the carriage. The carriage suddenly stills to a halt. I can hear the neighing of the horses. Something has shocked them. I can hear loud voices outside. A smile creeps across my face. It's time. The game has begun. The door to the carriage swings open. A man points a gun inside. My mother looks terrified. Get out! Get out now! The man shouts, grasping my mother's arm and pulling her from the carriage. Shortly after which, another man with a gun reaches in, grasping me by the tux, pulling me from the carriage. 6. There appear to be 6 of them. They ramble amongst themselves. I hear a gunshot. Bang! I hear a large set of thuds, as if something's fallen to the ground. I look to the side to see that under the carriage, the driver on the ground bleeding out. Quickly, the men begin to pull me and my mother deeper into the woods to the side of the road. After a few minutes, they stop. My mother cries, "Please, don't hurt us. We'll cooperate. We swear. My husband is a very wealthy man. He can pay you. I assure you, as long as we are safe, you can get money. Lots of money." The men surrounding us begin to laugh. "She says she can give us money," they say, chuckling and laughing. The man holding my mother has his arm around her waist, his hand in her hair, gripping it tightly, pulling her in close. "I'm sorry, Dolly. Your money's no good here," he says, smiling, squeezing her tightly. "Aren't you just a sweet thing? You know, maybe you could get out of this if you be nice. You can be nice to me, can't you, sweet thing?" he says as the men around him chuckle. The man holding me has me in a chokehold of sorts, a gun to my head. "You play nice, you do what we want you to do, and your little boy over there doesn't get a bullet in his head. Does that sound agreeable, huh, sweet thing?" They say, chuckling and laughing, all of them laughing amongst themselves as if this was a game, as if it was just good fun. "After me and the boys have some fun, we'll let you go, we promise. But you gotta be nice to all of us, understand? My friend over there can babysit your son for the time being. So, do we have an agreement, sweet thing?" the man says, holding my mother. Yes, I agree. I'll do what you want," my mother responds. "I can be nice. I can be very nice," she says, growing a smile, a wide smile. Suddenly, her head twists around on her neck, facing the complete opposite direction. They can hear a sickening crack. The expression on my mother's face is a twisted smile. Blackness runs from her eyes and her mouth. "You promise you'll be nice, right?" my mother says, looking at the man. Her head spun around like a top. "What the hell?" the men exclaim. The man holding my mother pushes her away. "What the hell is going on?" My mother's neck twists back around. She turns around to face the man. "I thought you wanted me to be nice," she says, that black ooze running, now beginning to pour out of her dress in all different places, running down her arms, coating her dress in a black ooze. "What the fuck?" the men exclaim. The man who was holding my mother pulls his gun, fires it off again and again. He fires until his gun is empty. My mother's body takes bullet after bullet. When his gun is finally empty, she falls, hitting the ground. For a moment, the men, they're all stunned. silent, looking at what they see in horror. My mother's body lies still, motionless on the ground, blood running from the gunshots, the blacks covering her. "What the fuck was that?" they say. And suddenly, my mother's body begins to again, hauling itself to its feet in an unnatural snapping and twisting of bone and skin, moving in a way that doesn't seem human at all. And all the while, they can hear her laughing a sick, twisted laughter that seems to begin to echo from everywhere. Laughter overlapping laughter, as if there are dozens of my mother's voices coming from everywhere in the woods. "What the fuck? What the fuck is going on?" they shout. And still the laughter from everywhere, as my mother's body begins to dissipate into a pile of disappearing into the foliage of the leaves beneath her. But still, the laughter persists. Suddenly, the man holding me looks down to find he's not holding anything at all. I've disappeared, as if I was never there to begin with. "What the hell? Where did the bloody kid go?" he shouts, terrified, none of them understanding what's going on, none of it making sense to them. Fear. You can almost smell the fear. And while they bask in the fear, the laughter finally begins to subside. Slowly it dies down, and once all the laughter has sailed away, they begin to hear it. Footsteps, small footsteps, slowly approaching, rustling leaves in the distance as they shuffle closer. All the men in a panic aim their guns in that direction. "What the hell? What the hell? What the hell?" they all shout, as they see a pretty blonde little girl approaching in the darkness, her form framed by the small bits of moonlight that break through the treetop cover. A smile on her face, happy, joyful, content to be there, enjoying herself in the darkness of the woods. She laughs, giggling to herself as she approaches. "All of you are really silly, you know that?" Alice announces. "Who the hell are you? What are you doing out here?" the men shout. "You know, it's really funny," Alice says. "I mean, really, at this point, most people would have been smart enough to start running. But at this point, it's just far too late. You see, now, none of you are gonna make it out of here. Haven't you figured it out yet? This is where you're going to die," she said, smiling, her hands safely tucked behind her back, that ever-present grin on her face. "Fuck you!" all the men shout. They all pull their guns and start firing, one after another, emptying bullet after bullet after bullet. A purple, massive shield deflecting it all, made of pure energy floating in place in front of Alice, deflecting every bullet. "What the fuck is going on? What is that?" they shout as the glowing purple shield dissipates. "Oh, I know. Let's play a fun game. You guys like games, right?" Alice says, chuckling. "Let's play one of my favorites. Let's play catch." Alice raises her hand, her palm up. "Alatarius," Alice announces, and suddenly a ball of purple energy begins to form in her palm. "This is a really fun game. All you have to do is catch." And in an instant, Alice hurls the purple ball. In an instant, the purple ball flashes forward, and an explosion of purple light it burns, scorches a hole right through one of the men. The other men can see the massive hole scorched into the man, purple smoke emanating from it. "Aw, it looks like he wasn't good at that game," she says, smiling as the man collapses to the ground. "Oh well, there are plenty of other games to play." "What the fuck?" the men shout. Suddenly, they start trying to run, only to find their feet unable to move. They look down to find the vines, the roots, the woods themselves holding them in place. "I can't get my feet out! I can't run! What the hell is going on? We gotta get the fuck out of here!" they shout in a panic, terrified. While struggling to get free, one of the men is pulling at the vines, the roots that hold him in place. But the more he tries to pull, the more vines and roots grab him, holding him firm in place. "You know, you're pretty silly, old man," he hears a voice announce. He looks up to to see Alice standing there, right in front of him. Remember? I already told you, it's too late to run now. You're stuck here, and this is where you're gonna die. In a frenzy, the man reaches out, trying to grab at Alice, but in an instant he finds he can't move his arms. He reached out to grab Alice, but instead, Alice grabbed him. In an instant, she had reached both her hands up, grasping at his wrists, finding them locked in place. This small girl, completely overpowering him. You know, for a big person, you're really weak, mister, she says, a giddy smile on her face. And suddenly the man's expression turns to one of pain. He begins to shout, "Ah!" as Alice grips his wrists tighter and tighter. "Stop! Let go!" he shouts, beginning to crumble to his knees. "Ah!" he says in pain as I hear the bones in his wrists snap. "You know, I don't think you're gonna be that much fun at all," Alice says. "You might as well just stop playing." And in a flash, he reaches forward, grabs his head, and with a single twisting motion, snaps it. The man collapses to the ground, unmoving, small, little twitches running his body length. Alice looks over at the remaining men. "You know, maybe this is a dream," she says, smiling at them. "Maybe this is all just one bad dream. You know, if you put the gun to your head and pull the trigger, maybe you'll wake up. Maybe you'll wake up and be safe at home in your own bed. Get yourself a nice cup of cocoa. I mean, you have guns. Maybe you should give it a try," Alice says, starting to walk ever slowly closer. One man still grasping at the vines at his legs. The other three have given up entirely, just staring at Alice in a complete panic, terror. One of the men finishes reloading his gun and starts trying to fire again at Alice, again finding nothing, every bullet bouncing off an emerging purple shield. "You know, you're not very bright. I thought you would have figured out that didn't work by now," Alice said, smiling, still walking ever the more closer. Another one of the men finishes reloading his gun. For a moment, it looks like he's going to fire at Alice, tears running down his face. He starts to pull the gun away, back towards himself. He puts the gun to his head and pulls the trigger. It's a splatter of red, and his body crumples to the ground, just like all the others, beginning to be consumed by the vines wrapping around it. "Oh, well, I guess he wanted to check if he was dreaming," Alice said, smiling, still walking slowly, ever the more closer, every moment closer, closer. "What the hell? What the hell?" they shout, in tears at this point. Please don't kill me," one of the men begs. Alice looks at one of the remaining men. Let's see if you're better at catch." Again, she announces the incantation. A purple ball of energy forms in her hand, hurling it. This time it takes the man's head clean off. And another one collapses to the ground. Only one more left. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me," he begs. "I'll do anything. I'll do whatever you want. Please don't kill me." Tears in his eyes, begging. "You know, it's really silly of you to act like this," Alice says. "I mean, after all, you were here to kill people yourself, weren't you? It's kinda silly to kill people and then be upset when somebody's trying to kill you. It's just downright unfair, really. I wonder, how many people begged you? How many people cried for their lives? Do you know? Do you even have a count? I bet you don't, because it didn't really matter. It didn't matter to you then. So, let me ask you something, mister. Why should it matter to me now?" The man sobbed, tears in his eyes, no longer begging, no longer able to find words through the terror. And just in that moment, he heard the words announced, "Asgar." And in that instant, he saw protruding from his chest a long, glowing red blade, scorching a hole in his chest, and turns around to find me standing there behind him. And as the lights fade from his world, the last thing he hears from me is, "You know, sometimes the money just isn't worth it." I pull the blade from his chest, he collapses to the ground. Only a few more moments of life now for him as he slowly stops moving, stops breathing, and all the life fades away. Alice chuckles giddily. That was so much fun. I could play this game all night. No, Alice. Remember, we have other plans. This isn't the end. We have other things to attend to. My father, remember, I said, staring over at Alice as I allow the blade to dissipate. Come on, we still have things to do. Alice clasps my hands and with a snap of my fingers, disappear in a flash of red light.